Hello, Borderland. It's time to talk about realities again. And what I'm going to talk about is something new that the amazing, flabbergastingly awesome Eric Fisk has coded for us. It's a representation graphically of how ready we are to go to Hedland in just a few weeks. And it turns out we are quite ready, but there are a few things that are still missing, and those things are very, very important. And what I'm going to show you now, I think, is going to surprise you in a few ways, and maybe not in others, and maybe it will confirm for you some things you already knew. So let's get started and look at this thing. So what I want to show you is this new feature in Realities. Um, so let me just pull myself down here. So when you come to Realities, realities.theborderland.se, and you go to Graph, now you have something pretty cool. So you have this thing here, this big circle. So what is this circle? This circle has on the outer layer all the people who are guiding or realizing a responsibility. This a guide means that they know what the thing is and what the responsibility is and how it should be done and sort of who could do it. And realizing it is that means that you know in detail how to do it and you are creating some sort of plan for it. Actually, let me take that back. You don't need to know in detail how to do it. You can also obviously learn while doing, as we all do. But you're the one who's actually going to do it. So probably you should have some sort of plan, and people are going to come ask you about this thing. It's also great because, in terms of if you want to make a decision and you want to understand um, who is in charge of a particular thing, you need to go to them because they are the stakeholder if you want to make a decision about that thing. So let's look at this thing. The orange dots out here are people. The outer circle of purple dots are responsibilities that have a realizer, meaning that someone has said, yes, I'm doing this thing, and are sort of working on it. In the middle are all the responsibilities that don't have a realizer, but some of them and a lot of them have guides. But all of these don't have realizers and are currently being claimed by no one. Now, that doesn't mean that all of these will not get done. Some of these sort of belong to um, camps like the Working Class Heroes and will be done. They'll be claimed by somebody in that camp. Um, some of these things are things that, if we haven't done them by the time the Borderland starts, not the end of the world, but we should look at it for next year and see if this was the responsibility that we really needed as a community, seeing that nobody stepped up and took it, or if we really need to get someone on that next year. So you can start zooming in, and you can start looking at who's taking responsibility for things. So say here's Linnea. Linnea has quite a lot of stuff. That's me. I have a lot of stuff, particularly relating to the online dreams and talk and realities. Down here we have Jacob, who is doing a lot of stuff around dreams. He's doing a lot of stuff around support for permanent art. He's doing a lot of stuff for community information regarding dreams and permanent art. And then here are people that have one responsibility, two responsibilities, blah blah blah. So one thing that you should take note of is having one responsibility is awesome. It's fantastic. Look at this amount of people, this number of people, and think about that the Borderland has 3,200 participants. I think in terms of spreading responsibilities, we could be much, much better. And in fact, hopefully, over the years, I hope it's going to start looking like the whole circle maybe is something like this, where we don't have these situations happening, where just a few people have a lot of responsibilities. But this view of who is realizing what doesn't really tell the whole story, does it? Because what we know is that a lot of people are providing a lot of support, even though they're not the ones that are particularly doing the thing. They are being asked about a lot of stuff, and they are sort of, on backup for a lot of things. And if we go to that view and we click on this guides thing, we visualize that. So here, for example, we see that down here, if we click a node, we see that Hampus is sort of stretched around a lot of different things, and he is it's sort of going all over the place. The things that he is responsible for guiding. This up here is me. I also have quite a lot of things that I guide. And this is Jacob. He also has quite a lot of things that he guides. And the thing with Jacob's things is a lot of them are new for this year. And so the same person is guiding and realizing almost all of Jacob's responsibilities. So next year, hopefully, will happen is that he will be guiding a few things, but then someone else will be realizing those things. And you see here that there's another situation. Here's someone who doesn't actually themselves realizes one thing, but they're guiding a lot of stuff in SLN. So she's guiding a lot of the radio communication stuff. Maybe some other interesting aspects. This is Brooks. Brooks is also guiding a lot of stuff, and he's also responsible for realizing Helm. Lise Losse is also guiding quite a lot of stuff, and Einar is a guide for a lot of stuff, especially with regards to the sanctuary. Okay, so this presents another part of the picture. And a third part of the picture that's very, very important is this one. This is a little bit messy, but what you see here are the depends on links. So what does that mean? It means that, one responsibility depends on another happening. For example, here we see that this is the Dreams platform tech lead. So somebody needs to be in charge of doing the Dreams platform, keeping it up to date, fixing it when it goes down, etc., deploying a new version. And we see that all these things depend on the Dreams platform tech lead. And what are those? Dreams platform housekeeping. It's art. No, not that one, but this one. Design and oversee the Dreams process. Also depends on the tech lead for Dreams. Communicate the Dreams process. Also depends on that. Post granting redistribution committee. Also depends on that there's someone sitting behind the computer terminal and making sure that the decisions they make get implemented. And if we look at the depends on graph, we can see a few hotspots. So down here, there are a lot of interdependencies. And what's this sort of stuff? It's placement. So it's placement, parking, car gate, that sort of stuff. So here, this is prepare and maintain the interactive placement map. A lot of stuff depends on that. Which is strange. You need to place first, and then you do a lot of the other stuff. Here we have something which is the on-site power grid layout. Also a lot of stuff that depend on that. So if we look at another point here, we can go to this hotspot, and we see that there's a lot of ingoing dependencies and also quite a lot of outgoing dependencies, meaning a lot of things are depending on this happening, and this thing depends on a lot of other things happening. So you can envision that as sort of a bottleneck. So we should really pay attention here and see that this the responsibility is on track, and that the person who is responsible for it has what they need. So what is that? That's the event permit application. The event permit application is being realized by Peter Schönemann. So Peter Schönemann, we need to make sure that he has everything he needs when he's getting the event permit application, because a lot of stuff depends on that he's doing that. And we have another situation up here that's a little bit different, which is one of the things that I do here, which is strike Helm. So I will be the one who's together with Hampus and Linea, actually, we're sort of sharing it. We are the ones who are last on site, and we will answer to the authorities saying like, okay, all clear, we're out. We depend on a lot of people and a lot of other responsibilities to happen for us to be able to say to the authorities and Hedland that everything's clear. And one thing in that is worrying, because one of our dependencies, one of the things we depend on down here is unclaimed, doesn't have a realizer. It's Moopy Corn Herding, basically Moop Sweep. We don't have anyone who's organizing Moop Sweep, and that's not good for me. That's not good for Hampus and Linea, who are doing this with me. Another thing here, Moop Sweep coordinations. We don't have a team, and we don't have a coordinator for the Moop Sweep. Actually, a lot of the LNT stuff is still doesn't have anyone who's taking responsibility for it. That's a huge problem here. So we need to really look at that and see what we can do. I think that in terms of Peter Schoenemann stuff, yeah, some of it is still unclaimed here, but I know that actually sound tests are not unclaimed, and the sound camp stuff isn't unclaimed either. It's Stefan Pedersen who's doing it. He's just not on realities. And the burn crew thing, that is being discussed currently. Okay, so basically what this helps us do, it helps us look at what's critical right now. So please go into realities, play around with this graph, see what interesting stuff you find, and also take note of the people who are out in the circle, who are making things happen, because it's next year, I would like this circle to be a lot denser out of the outer circle, with a lot less of this stuff going on, and a lot more of this stuff going on. And when it comes to the guides, I would like a lot of the people who have a lot of these to just have a lot of people have a lot of these responsibilities to mainly go over to guiding. And one person who has done that a lot this year, who used to have a lot of direct responsibilities, is Hampus. And Hampus is here. And he used to have many, many, many more direct responsibilities, and now he is guiding a lot of stuff instead. I really want to make that happen for myself as well next year, and I know that Jacob does too, and probably many other people. So have a look at this. Try to have a think about what does this say about the borderland. I mean, it says a lot of good things as well. I mean, we have a lot of strength, and I mean, for example, what's not in this is Erik Fisk, who came in and built this little thing to be able to make us see this thing. So I know that there's a lot of work that's not represented in this graph. And when you see that, actually, wait a minute, the work that I'm doing depends on this or that, or for example, I'm doing something important that's not stated here, go in and add it. Make sure that you show up here, because that way it's easier for us when we do the post-mortem and when we see, okay, how did we do this year, to rope people in, send emails, and have people update all these nodes. Because not only are these nodes, have names that say, what the responsibility is called, most of them also have descriptions that Diana and I put a lot of work into getting out of all the postmortems for the last 3 years. And those will be updated by talking to all the people who have had these responsibilities and asking them to update the descriptions of the ones they've had, so it's easier for people to step into responsibilities next year. Okay, so that's it for this little video. Just go in and play around with the realities graph and tell me what you find. All right, ciao. See you at the Borderland.